Welcome back to Keep Up channel. Tommy Robinson protesters hurl missiles at police before officers fight back and arrest 9 as 110,000-strong biggest ever anti-migrant demo takes over central London. 9 people have been arrested as Tommy Robinson protesters hurled missiles at police officers, after 110,000 anti-migrant activists marched through central London today in what is thought to be the largest right-wing demonstration in British history. The Unite the Kingdom march, organized by anti-immigrant and anti-Muslim activist Robinson, real name Stephen Yaxley Lennon, met at Stamford Street near London's Waterloo Bridge before making its way to the southern end of Whitehall. A counter-protest organized by group Stand Up to Racism, SUTR, formed at the other end of Whitehall with 5,000 in attendance, according to official Met Police figures. The Met Police said it had faced significant aggression from violent Unite the Kingdom protesters who they say assaulted officers and peppered them with missiles. Swathes of pro-Robinson demonstrators turned out bedecked in Union Jacks and England flags, with many bearing pictures of Charlie Kirk, the American conservative activist who was shot dead in Utah on Wednesday. As violence broke out among Unite the Kingdom protesters, police officers faced significant aggression and were seen struggling to keep activists from breaching their lines and gaining access to counter-protesters, who were all but surrounded. Initially, small scuffles between protesters and police broke out, with activists pushing and shoving, and officers seen drawing batons in response, before projectiles were thrown and officers assaulted. The force struggled to contain the violence and by 4:30 p.m. had to send in urgent reinforcements to deal with Unite the Kingdom protesters, including mounted officers on horses. The Met said its officers were attacked with projectiles and have had to use force to prevent their cordon being breached after a group from Unite the Kingdom attempted to force their way through police lines towards counter-protesters. The force later added that a number of officers have been assaulted and it was having to intervene in multiple locations to stop Unite the Kingdom protesters from reaching sterile areas and counter-activists. Just before 5 p.m. the Met said it had made 9 arrests. A spokesperson said, the turnout for the Unite the Kingdom protest was too big to fit into Whitehall. Protesters left the route onto Victoria Embankment and sought to access Whitehall from multiple directions. When officers moved in to stop them, they faced unacceptable violence. They were assaulted with kicks and punches. Bottles, flares and other projectiles were thrown. 9 arrests have been made so far for various offenses, but many more people have been identified as committing offenses. We will find them and they will face police action, even if it is not possible to do so today. Officers are continuing to face aggression in multiple locations, in particular at the north of Whitehall, as they work to create a safe exit route for those who have been taking part in the Stand Up to Racism protest. Previously, the Met said protesters attempted to enter the sterile area on Whitehall that is placed to keep the two protests apart, adding, officers were attacked with projectiles and have had to use force to avoid their cordon being breached. The force said it faced significant aggression directed at officers by Unite the Kingdom protesters, and had to rapidly deploy additional officers and extra police horses. Met officers were seen detaining one man near to Scotland Yard's headquarters. The man, who was wearing a black blazer and had a Union flag wrapped around his waist, was escorted by several officers away from Whitehall Gardens on Victoria Embankment and down Horse Guards Avenue. It came as activists attempted to cross police lines to disrupt the nearby March Against Fascism protest. Speaking ahead of the rally, Robinson, real name Yaxley Lennon, told supporters the revolution is on in a video posted to X where he claimed his Unite the Kingdom protest was the largest demonstration in British history. The far-right activist told his followers that London was full of patriots before saying the spark has started, the revolution is on. Robinson's live stream on X has more than 800,000 views as some protesters chanted his name and yelled, "Keir Starmer is a W********. In response, counter-protesters shouted, "Tommy Robinson is a W********. Amongst the crowd are protesters who have flown thousands of miles, including visitors from the US and a man from New Zealand who said he had arrived in the UK with about 100 of my warriors to take part in the march. After crowds reached Whitehall, Lawrence Fox told those gathered he was praying for Charlie Kirk and said a sword should be taken to people shutting down free speech. Our nation matters. "This is our home, we have nowhere else to go," he shouted. Tommy Robinson then claimed that the UK courts found the rights of undocumented migrants supersede those of the local community. He said, "Last week, they took Epping community to court and they said in court that the rights of migrants, undocumented migrants that we know nothing about, supersede the rights of the local community. They told the world that Somalians, Afghanis, Pakistanis, all of them, their rights supersede yours, the British public, the people that built this nation." He was referring to a Court of Appeal decision to overturn an injunction blocking asylum seekers being housed at the Bell Hotel in Epping, Essex. He told the crowd, "The revolution has started. They managed to silence us for 20 years with labels. Racist. Islamophobe. Far-right. They don't work anymore. The dam has well and truly burst. The cat is out of the bag and there is no putting it back in. The silent majority will be silent no longer." Other speakers included New Zealand Christian fundamentalist Brian Tamaki, who told the crowd, "Christianity versus the rest. Islam, Hinduism, Baha'i, Buddhism, whatever else you're into, they're all false. We gotta clean our countries up. Ban any type of public expression in our Christian nation from other religions. Ban halal. Ban burqas. Ban mosques, temples, shrines. We don't want those in our countries." Further figures at the rally included far-right politicians Eric Zemmour from France and Petra Bystron of Alternative for Germany, AFD, as well as controversial Canadian psychologist Jordan Peterson. Commentator Katie Hopkins and TV personality Ant Middleton are also at the event. Meanwhile, opening the counter-rally speeches at Russell Square before marching on Whitehall, co-convener of the Stand Up to Racism protest said the Labour government has been trying to out-racist the racists all summer. Sabi Dalla thanked the very happy and militant crowd of hundreds, before telling them, "We've got to acknowledge that the events over the summer, all of the far-right protests, all of the far-right uniting behind this toxic narrative, and Reform UK and Nigel Farage, along with Tory politicians like Robert Jenrick and Sala Braverman encouraging the protesters, attending the protests in various parts of the country, has meant that we are going to see a very big Tommy Robinson demonstration today." She added, "Sadly that narrative has been conceded to by the Labour government who have been trying to out-racist the racists all summer, which has just fed this toxic narrative and hatred and racism towards refugees." Ms. Dalu was followed by author, historian and child sexual abuse survivor Louise Raw, the founder of Survivors Against Fascism, who claimed some far-right protesters who have spoken out against sex attacks were offenders themselves. "We know the far-right do not stand with survivors, they create survivors," she said, adding, "Tommy Robinson will not ever speak to you about them ever." As the Unite the Kingdom crowds grew, the Met Police told Stand Up to Racism protesters to stay on Whitehall as Robinson supporters had gathered on all of the adjacent roads, a speaker said. Some of the signs held aloft at the SUTR are titled "Smash the Far Right" and "Refugees Welcome." Other materials displayed include a Union Jack with the words "Diverse Britain" emblazoned across its front featuring LGBTQ coloring. The march was led by hundreds of women, Stand Up to Racism, SUTR, said, including independent MP Diane Abbott. Speaking to Sky News from Russell Square, Ms. Abbott said, "We need to show that we are united. They, Unite the Kingdom, are talking nonsense. It is a dangerous lie to try and say that men of color are a threat to women. It is a dangerous lie and we need to squash it. My message to the government is they want to keep people safe and we need to be clear that these demonstrations around hotels are racist demonstrations." Samira Ali, national organizer for SUTR, said, "Our demonstration will be sending a message loud and clear: we are united against the far-right threat. Women don't need the far-right to keep us safe." Back at the Unite the Kingdom rally, 13-year-old Courtney Wright, who earlier this year was forced to spend a morning in isolation after her school told her she could not wear her Union flag dress or deliver a speech about being British for a planned Culture Day, spoke to the crowd. After being introduced by Robinson as a brave little British girl, Courtney walked onto the main stage where she was received by rapturous applause and whistles. Telling the crowd she was so proud to stand here today, she said, "Even though I'm only 13, I already know how lucky we are to live in this country. Britain is our home, it's a place built on courage, sacrifice, and freedom. Millions before us fought to protect it, and it's our duty to love it, respect it, and keep it strong. We may be young, but we are the future, and together, with pride in our hearts, we will always stand for our great nation. She then told the crowd she had been silenced by her school, adding my voice didn't count, before reading out the speech she had not been allowed to deliver to her classroom in July. As she ended her speech, Robinson encouraged the crowd to give their praise, adding, "Her parents must be so bloody proud." The Met is deploying 1,600 officers as Yaxley Lenin supporters and opposing demonstrators, who are hosting the March Against Fascism, stage rival rallies. The vast number in attendance for Unite the Kingdom today dwarfs the collective 33,000 protesters estimated to have joined 3 rallies organized by Tommy Robinson in London since July 2024, according to a Freedom of Information (FOI) Act request published by Met Police. Saturday's number also more than eclipses well-known far-right protests to have taken place in the last 100 years in London. The Battle of Lewisham on August 13, 1977, attracted just 500 members of the far-right National Front, who were met by 4,000 counter-demonstrators. During the notable Battle of Cable Street, on October 4, 1936, some 5,000 far-right protesters assembled in East London, but they were met by up to 300,000 counter-protesters. The extra cost of policing today's protest will likely cause a budgetary headache for Met Commissioner Mark Rowley, based on the FOI figures. Met Police estimated that the 3 previous protests generated an additional spend of around £960,000, July 27, 2024, £2.4 million, October 26, 2024, and £1.7 million, February 1, 2025, respectively. The Metropolitan Police said barriers will be in place to create space between the two groups. The force also confirmed live facial recognition will not be in place for today's protest. It was recently used at Notting Hill Carnival. There will be strict conditions imposed under the Public Order Act on where and when campaigners can protest, the force added. More than 1,600 officers will be deployed across London on Saturday, including 500 brought in from other forces. Around 1,000 officers will be on duty at the marches, while the remaining 600 will police other high-profile events including Premier League events. Scotland Yard will have to contend with derbies between West Ham and Tottenham and Brentford and Chelsea, while Charlton will entertain local rivals Millwall in the Championship. In addition, thousands of Leeds fans will be heading south for their match at Fulham. Nottingham Forest are away at Arsenal and Sunderland are playing Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park. Police warned the public of traffic disruption due to the crowds and said buses will likely face delays. Thousands of people seemingly on their way to the demonstrations have also been spotted cramming onto London Underground services. Early photographs on Saturday morning showed crowds gathering in anticipation of today's protests, with many draped in Union Jacks, England and American flags. Yaxley Lenin, 42, described the event as the UK's biggest free speech festival and said thousands are due to attend, boasting, "The football lads are coming from everywhere." He has called on attendees of his rally to not wear masks, drink alcohol or be violent. In a video on X he said, "It's not a time for riots. It's not a time for violence. It's a time where you come and you stand proudly for your country." He added, "This is an imperative message and an important message, we have to control ourselves." People milled around with placards that said "Refugees welcome" and "Oppose Tommy Robinson," and chants of "Say it loud, say it clear, refugees are welcome here" started at around 11:20 a.m. Meanwhile, men carrying Union and St. George's Cross flags were seen sitting outside central London pubs, while others carrying tins of alcohol walked towards the start point of Robinson's march, which will begin near Waterloo Bridge. 8 police vans, from Warwickshire Police, West Midlands Police and the Metropolitan Police, lined Woburn Street, which runs alongside the square. On Friday, Muslim Londoners were told not to avoid the capital today despite the risk of clashes between rival groups. Commander Claire Haynes, who is overseeing the policing operation, said she recognized there were concerns for London's Muslims ahead of Robinson's march given the record of anti-Islam rhetoric from the activist and his supporters. There have been some suggestions that Muslim Londoners should change their behavior this Saturday, including not coming into town, she said. That is not our advice. Everyone should be able to feel safe traveling into and around London. Our officers are there to ensure that is the case, and we'd urge anyone who is out on Saturday and feels concerned to speak to us. This will be a very busy day with protest, sporting fixtures, concerts, and other events. The Met is used to delivering the sort of complex and large-scale policing operation that is required to keep the public safe, and we have a detailed plan to do so on Saturday. I am grateful to the many hundreds of Met officers who are being deployed away from their day-to-day roles and to the 500 or so officers from around the country who have responded to our request for support. The main focus of the operation is on the 2 protests in central London. We will approach them as we do any other protests, policing without fear or favor, ensuring people can exercise their lawful rights, but being robust in dealing with incidents or offences should they occur. In the run-up to the protests, we have been in close contact with the organizers, with local business and community representatives, and with representatives of communities across London more broadly. We would ask all those taking part in the protests to be considerate of the communities they are passing through to ensure disruption is kept to a minimum. Officers will take a firm line on behavior that is discriminatory or that crosses the line from protest into hate crime. Metropolitan Police Federation Chairwoman Paula Dodds said officers policing large protests regularly are emotionally and physically exhausted. We've seen multiple Metropolitan Police officers be refused leave and have much-needed rest days cancelled, she said. Our colleagues have and continue to lose time with their families, friends, and loved ones because they have been pulled into London to police protests. We must remember there are no extra police officers. Just the same hardworking ones having their days off cancelled, having to work longer shifts and being moved from other areas. They have come under attack and been violently assaulted for doing the job society expects of them. The demand is relentless. And it's not sustainable. Source: dailymail.co.uk. Please like, share and subscribe. Thank you for watching.